Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the possible ramifications of the DUP's leader, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, suddenly no longer being the leader or even really in the party as a result of being charged with serious sexual offences. Will the splits within his party over Brexit manifest themselves? But first, just to point out, if I look a little bit scruffy, it's because I've been building a shed today. 2 to 3 hours my arse. But anyway, yesterday we had some insanely shocking news. Geoffrey Donaldson was charged with historical sexual offences, as it's been described. He immediately shut down all his social media accounts and resigned as leader of the DUP. The DUP had an emergency meeting where they promptly basically removed the whip. So the party who opposed the Good Friday Agreement had a pretty bad Good Friday again this year, didn't they? I'm not sure anyone saw it coming. Sammy Wilson certainly said he didn't see it coming. I didn't. And there was me thinking Jacob Rees-Mogg calling for Thames Water to be nationalised would be the shocking political news story of the week. But what are the consequences for this? In Westminster, it depends on whether Donaldson steps down as an MP or not. You know, he hasn't done so as far as I can tell. If he did, polling, I think, suggests that the Alliance Party, not just a different DUP candidate, would be in the frame. And, you know, so the Alliance Party could win that one as a by-election. So does Donaldson hang on as an MP in order to save his party further embarrassment? Or is hanging on even worse? I don't imagine he'll be going anywhere near Parliament. But the fact that he could will bring up yet again the fact that many MPs, cross-party, are concerned about MPs who are facing charges of assault and sexual assault particularly, being allowed to roam the Palace of Westminster and the vulnerable position this puts staff in. There's already been calls to ban all MPs facing these charges from the parliamentary estate, but Sunak ordered his MPs to vote it down. After all, I suppose he can't lose a tight vote just because the latest Tory pervert isn't allowed in Westminster, although I suppose a proxy vote could be possible. But it's Stormont where the attention will be. In theory, no consequences at all. Donaldson's not an MLA. However, there are two bones of contention within his party. First of all, he did appoint the Deputy First Minister. So, you know, may some of the anti-protocol rebels in the party say this decision should be revisited? But the biggest bone of contention is that there are, you know, a very noisy minority of the party who are dead against Donaldson's work on dealing with practical solutions for the Northern Ireland Protocol. I mean, being clear, most of the party just want to move on, as far as I can tell. And they want Stormont to carry on. Most of them wanted to return to power a long time ago, a long time before they actually did. I think it's probably fair to say the reason for collapse in power sharing in the first place is on the wider party. But pretty much the last year of arguing to reform it was down to that noisy minority. They're already agitating, some of them, to use Donaldson's downfall to reopen the whole debate about the Irish Sea border. May well be that the DUP appoint a permanent leader who will continue in the same way as Donaldson, had he not faced these charges and resigned. But will the new leader have Donaldson's authority to do so? Because although we can look at the DUP, especially over the last year, and see that Donaldson was having to jump through a lot of hoops to keep his more extreme colleagues quiet, if not happy, he was nonetheless able to do so eventually. Now consider that both the Conservatives and the DUP, who are basically Northern Ireland's Conservatives, have massively destabilised themselves over the Brexit they both wanted. It's meant both parties sacrificing leaders. Both parties have gone through a period of changing leaders twice in the space of a few months. Donaldson had been leader for nearly 4 years, which is no mean feat for a party tearing itself apart over what is, after all, getting what it wanted. I don't think we can expect the Tories to keep hold of a single leader for 4 years for a long time yet. They certainly haven't managed it since the Brexit referendum. And there are those in the DUP who are wanting to use this to reset those discussions on the Irish Sea border. Not that I've ever worked out what it is they actually want. I know what they don't want. They're always very clear about what they don't want. Not so easy to find what they do want. The Irish Sea is, of course, the only place that trade border's going. We could, in theory, make it disappear altogether if the UK could rejoin the single market, maybe for the future. There's no explicit move to do so right now. It can't go inside Ireland, and Ireland themselves are not going to leave the single market, so there's nowhere else for it to go. Remember, most players value the Good Friday Agreement. We know some Tories don't, but enough of them didn't fancy the consequences of trashing it. The Irish government want the Good Friday Agreement protecting. So too do the United States, the European Union, the next UK government, and everyone that's not the DUP or their crazier cousins in Northern Ireland. But the question is, will those who want to get the issue of the Irish Sea border back on the agenda use this to their advantage? It seems unlikely right now. I mean, first of all, there doesn't seem to be the appetite to collapse power sharing again. So how are they going to do that? The British government and the Irish government and the EU Commission have all made it really clear they're happy with things now. That's fine. We've done enough tinkering. We're leaving it. So apart from anything else, I think most of the DUP realised that their gambit didn't really work in the first place. They thought they could hold it over the Tories in Westminster, where, you know, they could clearly see a lot of sympathy for their position. But unfortunately, they failed to recognise that that sympathy was not amongst the leadership. I could say it was just because they fundamentally misunderstood how the Tories in Westminster really see Northern Ireland. But the reasoning doesn't matter anymore. It didn't work, and I think most realise it didn't work and therefore won't work again. For all Donaldson's claims, as Stormont returned, that he had leveraged major concessions as justification for like collapsing the Assembly for a while, all he actually got was more trade paperwork for British businesses. Thank you very much. Making more people in Britain wonder why Northern Ireland's even part of the UK. Bravo. But the second reason I'm thinking there'll be no major push to make a massive issue out of this is seeing an interview with Sammy Wilson about this very thing. Now, he was one of the grumpier members of the party when agreement was reached on the Irish Sea border. Not at all happy. Yet all he wanted to talk about in this interview was a focus on the general election. He seems to understand the DUP does itself no favours by picking a fight with itself in election year. He described unionism as under massive pressure, and the success or otherwise of one side or the other is often measured in terms of electoral success. And if Wilson wants to focus on election strategy rather than ideological battles with himself, then it doesn't sound to me like there's going to be much appetite for a major blowout over this within the party. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.